Scrim is when two teams just like go to a practice game and just train to each other.
Scrims are really important. Our whole week is filled with planned scrims.
Well, it's nice to scrim different teams because you can play versus different playstyles.
There are ones that just don't take scrims serious, they just play to play. And there are others that like practice certain strategies.
Winning or losing in a scrim isn't that important.
The biggest thing I take away personally is training the matchups.
You can learn that this champion is strong and you didn't know it.
You learn a lot from them, you improve a lot, and you're playing with your team, which is a lot better than solo queue.
And others like try one thing that they really want to do, a really early Drake, buff control. If that fails or not fails, it doesn't matter, they just keep practicing something.
For me, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose, as long as we learn from our mistakes that we did in the game.
That's why you play scrims, not to win, just to improve.
Welcome back, LCS fans, as Quickshot and I are joined by Amazing after that win versus Fnatic 2-0 this weekend. And what a game it was, this one. Tell me about going into picks and bans. What did you guys really have your eye on?
Well, obviously the Castellano pack is pretty renowned, so we want to get that out. Yellowstar is performing really well on Annie. That has also been a focus of ours. And what did we ban as well?
You also banned out Elise.
Oh, Steiner has been one of the few Elise players not to feed in-game. Like, even I have fed like a lot when I played versus Fnatic. So we're going to get that out, and we did so. And we actually expect them to ban Lee Sin or pick it up in the first rotation. They didn't do so, they got punished. And yeah, we just wanted to get our main picks, get some hard engage on the support instead of the common pick, and win the game.
I'm really happy to hear you say that, because the Karma pick is something that you guys have been counter-picking against Annie until yesterday. Played Leona in both of the games. You played Lee Sin in both of the games. And you seem to have a lot more ability to start fights. Was it a plan from the get-go to have that initiation in those roles?
Yes, it has been. The thing is, what changed for us this week is that we changed our approach. We wanted to be more of an active team and really punish any mistake even harder. And that's more possible with hard engage on the jungle and support, especially if you have a roaming support as Unlimited is. He has a jungler mindset, and we try to use that.
Well, that was the plan going into it, but then they had one weird thing to say coming into the lineup with the Lulu. That could have been some trouble. You guys did a lane swap to counter it. How did you else go about maybe shutting it down, or did you not think it was that dangerous?
We did not really think it was that dangerous. Obviously, farmed well in the lane swap, but we didn't really account for it in the first place because we thought it was mid in the rotation, and then they suddenly picked Syndra, so we're quite surprised. But we know that Lee Sin reacted in strong in lane swap. We didn't get a kill, but we got good farm at least on me and Renekton. So we managed to get through laning phase, and Lulu would have punished Renekton even harder than the lane swap would have.
Explain to me how the Copenhagen Wolves decide to do a lane swap. We were looking at the numbers backstage, and out of the 14 games you guys have played, 6 of them you've actually initiated lane swaps. Did you know it was that high? And if you didn't, what are the decision-making factors for you and your team to say, this is what we want to do?
Well, Forgiven is a really good AD carry in lane swaps. He gets way more auto attacks off than anyone else, so we like to use that. We did some of the Challenger series already when we played on IEM Cologne and stuff. We used that a lot, and we just use our strengths. There's no really a thought process behind it. If we think we can lane, we do it. But especially when you like the hard engage, we just lane swap and use that in the lane swap and try to dive or just get through laning phase.
Well, you guys definitely make it through the laning phase. I want to ask a little bit about Forgiven. We've seen in the past, whenever Lucian and Caitlyn are either banned away and first picked, Forgiven has struggled to have the same level of impact in the game. Got his hands on Caitlyn now. I believe he played Lucian yesterday. Is this something that you guys as a team are aware of and are working on, or how do you deal with that?
Well, Caitlyn and Lucian are better in lane swaps and are better in pushing lanes. That's his style, so he likes to run it. And obviously, another issue for us is that we don't really peel for him in teamfights because we'll play really aggressive in teamfights, try to dive and stuff. So obviously he's going to perform worse on champions that don't have escapes, and others that do have escapes and are still in the game are not really as powerful as Lucian or Caitlyn.
We're focusing a lot on the positive now because you won 2 games in a row, but it hasn't been all great the weeks before. What do you take from this and say, we did this good, but we should do this better?
Well, obviously, our rotations were pretty good. What we have to do better is to maybe improve our early game laning phase. I think even in this game, Youngbuck fell behind like 25 CS because of the lane swap, but that was also because Lealistar and Rekis played it pretty well. In general, we have to be more cohesive as a team, and I think we can manage to make that progress.
Well, I want to take a step back from the games because you guys performed amazingly this weekend. You had a 57-minute win yesterday. You've beat Fnatic in half of that today, getting in 28. What changed this week in your practice? You know, I told you before the interview, Youngbuck actually said on Twitter, hey, we need to work on our mid-game. And this weekend, you guys really shone. How did you improve it for this week's matches?
We have a different approach in matches right now that we scrim. We try to have one kind of objective in mind, something like timing that flashes 24/7, like really improving on those little things. And if you manage to do that, you will be more timely on your engages, you will be more timely on your punishes, and it really helps you making plays.
Right, well, thank you very much, and congratulations once again. And of course, you guys at home have been tweeting at us using the hashtag, at LOL Esports, and earlier today we asked you which European LCS team has improved the most so far in this season and why. And here are some of the answers. The first one is from @WonderMalana. SK has made a huge improvement from week 1. Great teamwork, more confidence in plays, and all-around communication. Trev?
I agree with that. I'm actually going to be casting the game later today, and I think when we look at SK as a team, they have gotten better and better, and the players themselves have said, we weren't performing at our best. I want to see how games like SK are going to do against the Copenhagen Wolves, who are also on the up and up, because I think a little bit more stability in your performance, and you could also be one of those teams as well.
And the second one is from @KingJamesPenn. No one except ROCCAT to be atop, expected ROCCAT to be atop the LCS standings after their somewhat shaky start. They have improved immensely. Somewhat shaky?
I think it's a little unfair. They beat Gambit in week 2. Then they had a couple of uneven weeks. But I think overall, ROCCAT, they surprised everybody because I personally didn't think they were going to be as strong as they are in the LCS.
Yeah, and they are at the top and they are staying there, which seems to be kind of trouble for some other teams. Then the last tweet is from @MrTonyBraces. The SUPA Hot crew have definitely improved the most. Impaler getting past the fact that every team bans them out, and solo laners have stepped up. What do you think about the SUPA Hot crew?
They're really good right now. We've seen them in the beginning when they started like 1-5, and ever since then they've been winning almost every game. Even if they're behind early, they still manage to come back in some manner, and that's a sign of great team improvement and great team synergy.
Do you think they can beat this Gambit?
I think so, yes.
Trev?
I think so too. I think we've seen Gambit had some great early game moves yesterday, but I feel SUPA crew again, teamwork, calling, they should be able to beat them.
All right. Well, of course, we'd like to thank you for all of your answers you sent to us. Remember to keep the social conversation going by using the hashtag LCS. And now let's send it back over to D&D to get into the next game.
Thank you very much, Shocks and Quick Shots. So, coming up, it is Gambit facing off against the SUPA Hot crew. And this week, Gambit are having to use substitutes to fill their player roster after visa issues for Alexic, Diamond, and Darren. And of course, Genji is also missing due to not being able to speak English well enough to fit in with the lineup. So, Ninjas in Pajamas is now selected with Nukeduck and Zorro Zero, as well as Hulberto and Fury. And all these players were chosen by Eddie. So Eddie on the end there, he is the last remaining Gambit member. And of course, we saw them in action yesterday, and as expected, their lane phase was good. But when they transitioned into late game, their team fighting behind was miles behind ROCCAT. And that's not a bad thing, because ROCCAT are just so good.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I mean, with a whole new lineup, they actually had a decent showing. We have to give them that credit. And the team issues we saw against ROCCAT, as you said yourself, they were expected. That's how it is. And I like what they actually tried to do with a split push combo, which was very smart. Due to actually the fact they have no coordination in team fights, so they wanted to rely on the split pushing. It never really had an impact though, due to ROCCAT more or less shutting down Hulberto and the Gambit bot lane early on. Meanwhile though, Overpower, he just farmed away in the mid lane, so ROCCAT, they had like 4 strong members, and they could just group up, and there was nothing Gambit could do to actually stop them. Even though they had Nukeduck killing Xaxus, it didn't matter because the rest of the members, they lost.
Yeah, absolutely. So after seeing the Gambit in Pajamas in action yesterday, what do you think SUPA Hot crew will be focusing on?
Honestly, a weak point, he actually pointed out himself earlier in the pre-show interview. A weak point has been Edward. It's not been the same Edward that we saw a year ago. His laning phase have been weak, and he's a support. He's actually the support with the 3rd most deaths. And also he's a support with the least amount of assists in the entire league. that is not good numbers at all. And if we look back on the spring split last year, then we saw some very different numbers from Edward. He was the support with the least amount of deaths. He had the second most assists in the entire league. And it seems to me that Edward, he kind of stopped improving. And the rest of the support in Europe, they're just stepping up their game.
So his trip to North America may not have been as successful as it seems. Meanwhile, the Super Hot Crew, well, they have really been pulling it together over the last couple of weeks. And they have picked up some important wins. And, of course, one of those wins was the 13-1 demolition of Gambit during Week 4. And yesterday, well, they picked apart Fnatic.
And for me, the last time these two teams played each other, that was the day SUPA Crew really introduced themselves to the league. They shut down Gambit in every single lane and just dominated them. This is a very different Gambit lineup though, so it's going to be a completely different game. And I actually think it's going to be harder for SUPA Crew to win the early game, as the current Gambit lineup is more focused on purely the laning phase. And yesterday versus Fnatic, we actually saw that they don't need to win the early game, because they've improved the team fight and the coordination, and they don't rely too much on the early ganks anymore, because they can just farm up now and then go to team fights. And that's what we saw, because they played very slow and just waited till they got all the farm and all the items they needed, and then they just dominated Fnatic. And they might use this tactic again today versus Gambit. And then we have to talk about Mr. Rales when we talk about Super Hot Crew, because he had another huge game. He pulled out the Draven. It was the first time we've seen it in the EU LCS. And together with Mixer, they just dominated the team fights. It's great to see him expanding his champ pool as well, because early on in the season, he was known as a guy who more or less only played Lucian and Caitlyn. And now he's been playing Jinx, Sivir, Draven. He just keeps pulling out new things, and it's so hard for people to deal with him. And all in all, I just have to say, I think Mr. Rales and Mixer together, they are one, if not the strongest bot lane in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, I'd absolutely have to agree with you, because even when they were 1-5, you know, at the start of the season, during Super Week, during the Week 2, they were still the shining light from that lane, and we were talking about it back then.
Exactly. They were always doing well. They were always winning the lanes. They picked up so many first bloods. And yes, the rest of the team, they weren't performing at the time. But now they are, and that's why everyone is now respecting Super Hot Crew.
Well, let's check out those starting lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be Gambit in pajamas. In the top lane is Zoro Zero, Holberto in the jungle, Nukeduck as the mid laner, Fury as the AD carry, and alongside him is Thresh Eddie.
And on the red side, we have Super Hot Crew with Mimir in the top lane, we have Impaler in the jungle, Moopz in the mid lane, Mr. Rales as the AD carry, and Mixer on support.
You know, mentioning the Thresh for Edward, it's a champion we haven't seen him on for a long time, and honestly, he was the Thresh Prince of Armenia.
He was the best one. You never wanted to lane against him when he had the champion, because you knew he would land the hooks on you, he would set up ganks with Diamond, and you just had to bend away. He's not been too impressive lately with Thresh. He's actually had some kind of weird games with it, not landing too many hooks, and in general, when he's actually picked it up, we haven't seen the same kind of dominance we saw early on.
Well, he had the big play as well with the Annie as well. So, I mean, he's had his moments of glory, but it's just not quite worked out for him so far, and he's given up a lot of first bloods. So we're moving in towards picks and bans. What are we expecting? Well, quick fire bans straight away. We see the Gragas and we see the Kassadin.
And the way you normally deal with Zoro Zero or NIP in general is you want to try and target out Zoro Zero and then pick something that he also likes to play and try and counter him that way. So we could see something like a Renekton being banned away. Also maybe a LeBlanc, because he likes to play LeBlanc, and also Nukeduck likes to play LeBlanc. So if they take that away, they can try and shut him down.
Interesting ban, look at that. Mixer drawing the Morgana support ban. This is also Moopz as well in the mid lane, but Mixer's been more successful.
And he's been so good on it, and it completely counters all kind of hard engage. So if Edward wants to play Leona and he's something where he can start the fights, they need to get rid of the Morgana.
Interesting bans here. LeBlanc being banned out. We've seen Zoro Zero playing that in the Star Ladder recently.
And that's the thing. People actually respect him for his LeBlanc, because he often takes it and goes top. Nukeduck also plays in mid lane, so you don't really know where it goes. So I like the fact Super Group banned away. The last ban will show if they want to leave something like Elise open though.
And this tells me they're going to go for Thresh. They banned out Morgana and Annie. I think they're going to pick out Thresh.
And that means Super Crew have to respond with more or less Leona. That's not ideal for them, but look at what else is open for them. They've more or less banned away top lane champions from Zoro, except for something like Shyvana and Dr. Mundo. So if they take an early Shyvana now, they force him onto Dr. Mundo, and we saw him having very little impact in their finals versus Cloud9. Well, yes, he won, or he farmed well, he got tanky, but didn't do anything. It's a very nice first pick by Gambit though, just as you talked about, banning out two supports and now picking a strong one.
And they've taken Shyvana, and this time Elise, of course, being left open, so we'll see how Impaler does on that one. He has been playing a lot of Pantheon lately, so see how his Elise has been working out.
We do have the Shyvana though, and it's one champion Mima really enjoyed playing. When people stopped playing it, he kept playing it, and he's been doing really well. He's having so much focus on split pushing and doing well in his lane. So we have to see what Zoro can bring up to kind of lane against him or try and shut him down early, so you don't get to the point where Shyvana becomes this very tanky and a lot of damage actually. It's very hard to deal with in team fights.
Will he pull out the trundle at the moment? Lucian's being hovered over for Fury. Mundo is where he's going to go. That will be Zoro in the top lane.
So things worked out for Super Hawk's plan if it was actually to target him out. We don't know if they wanna or how they wanna deal with this Mundo when it comes to the real late game part. But I like Shyvana against it because you're gonna be this tanky monster yourself, and if they can manage to more or less lock him out, it's gonna be up to the bot lane and Nuke Dog to carry the game instead.
So at the moment, Draven being thought about for Mr. Rales. We'll see whether there is a support choice, or will it be Jinx? Jinx is a champion he's played a lot of in solo queue. We've been looking at his history to see which way he'd go this week. And I'd be interested to see if he does pull that one out, because a lot of people have been drawing away from the Jinx lately.
Yeah, because Jinx, it requires the enemy team to not have something that can directly get to you very easily. With the free picks from Gambit, they actually don't have anything to hard engage onto the Jinx or Draven if he locks down in. Oh, Kayle was left open.
How the hell did that get through?
We didn't even notice.
Oh my god, and I don't think Gambit noticed either. So Moopz is pulled out Kayle.
And notice what the Super Crew actually did. They wait with the AD carry pick because they want to see the rest, or at least most of, the rest of the lineup from Gambit to see, can we actually take a Jinx or Draven, something that doesn't need an escape, because then we can dominate them from there on. And with Leona, they have the hard engage. It's a bit of a hard lane against Fresh, but then with Kayle, you just have so much scaling into late game from Super Crew's side.
Well, with the Lulu and Olaf being locked in for Hulberto and Nuke Duck, not sure if that means he wants to go for the Jinx. I expect the Draven to come out after that.
Well, he can more or less pick whatever he wants at the moment because there's no hard engage from Gambit's side. They all have to run into the face of Super Hard Crew, so it's going to be fairly easy for them to actually counter engage or block them out and let Mr. Raleigh stand in the back just going crazy. If you take the Lulu pick, I actually like the fact he locks it in here because against Kayle, it is giving him a lot of pressure, and it means Nudrock can try and go for some kills on Moopz early on.
Well, it's clear discussions. You can see Mr. Raleigh at the bottom part of your screen discussing with the team, and this is something we've noticed a lot with Super Hot Crew. Their communication has really stepped up over the last few weeks.
It stepped up so much, and in general just the champ select, the champions they play, the combos they pull off, just it really impresses me the fact they wait with the AD carry because they wanna have the option of picking this Jinx, but they're not 100% sure yet because they know they cannot pick it in if Gambit locks in some hard engage. So I like the fact they're playing this.
So what do we see from these two teams? For me, Super Hot Crew look like they've got exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, it seems like Super Hot Crew got pretty much the perfect lineup for them. They have Mima on Shyvana, he can split push, he loves to play it. They have Elise, one of the strongest junglers in the game. Kayle, who just scales into the late game, becomes this absolute monster. You have Mr. Rales on Jinx, so much damage he can put out. Such a strong champion in team fights. And obviously you have Mixer on the hard engage champions. He is the shot caller when it comes to engaging, together with Impaler. And they love to do this where they like coordinate it in. Impaler can't hard engage on Elise, but then Mixer can do it for him. And if you look at Gambit's side, I like Lulu Olaf. It's a good combo. You can speed off Olaf and then use the ultimate on him when he's in the middle of the enemy team to really try and set something up. And the laning phase for Gambit wise, Lulu's very strong in lane. We have the bot lane, Fresh Lucian, that's very strong lane. Dr. Mundo having a little bit of a hard time against Shyvana, but he will definitely be able to get the farm he needs.
So I remember watching NIP play in that Star Ladder, and I also remember seeing in the Challenger Series final a very scary Zoro Dr. Mundo sped up by that Lulu. He was going rocket speed.
And that's the thing, if he gets sped up and he's so tanky, he can just run into the face of Mr. Rales, and that is what they need to do to shut him down.
Well, we'll see how that one works out. Now that the players have chosen their champions, let's see how you guys scored this match with 71% of you voting for Gambit against the Super Hot Crew. I think that may well be the fan base of Gambit voting before they knew the exact lineup.
Yeah, I would probably switch the one around, say 71% to Super Hot Crew instead. They are the clear favorites for this one, and they should be.
Well, I mean, it shows, you know, the fact that the fan base really isn't there just yet for the Super Hot Crew, despite the fact they have been playing it fantastically well lately.
It's a bit like Lemon Dogs last season.
Yes.
It took some time for people to actually realize how good of a team
well,
it is.
I distinctly remember the game where Fnatic had a 96% vote up against the Lemon Dogs, and it was like, wow, really 4% of you voted for Lemon Dogs who are about to top the league? That is incredible. Just those to show the fan bases of these teams. Gambit will be starting out as the blue team, and the Super Hot Crew are the red team. And if you've just joined us, don't forget this is a very different Gambit lineup. For Gambit, it is Zoro0 in the top lane, Hulberto in the jungle, Nukeduck is playing in the mid lane, Fury as the AD carry, and Edward, the only remaining real member of Gambit there. Everybody else are substitutes.
So both teams actually scale really well into late game. I have to give it in favor of Super Hot Crew though. Elise is going to be very strong throughout the entire game. We have Shyvana who's going to be stronger and stronger and become this beast late game. Kayle, we know how good she is and how strong she is late game. And obviously we have Jinx, one of the best AD carries late game if you can survive the team fights. Gambit, on the other hand, they have to rely a lot on the combo together with two very tanky members in Olaf and Dr. Mundo running into the face of Super Hot Crew, taking all the damage, and then the rest of Gambit can just stay in the backline, poking away, doing all the damage.
Well, as it stands, nobody's going too aggressive. We did see some potential plays in the last game. Everybody was pushing for it, but it is going to be a battle of the briefcases in the top there. Mima will quite happily absorb those with that Doran shield.
And we need to see how they decide to build someone like Olaf, because Gambit aren't the issue. They might lack damage with this combo. Lulu, she kind of falls off damage-wise. She's still very strong, but she doesn't have the same amount of damage as a Kayle. So the rest of the lineup, also Mundo, obviously will have less damage than Shyvana. So Gambit need to be careful they don't hit the point where they simply don't have any damage to kill anyone from Super Hot Crew's side.
And Impaler's just paused for an issue. You can see he's not got his headset on, so he will be a little careful until he puts that back on. So it is just a restart of the client, so he'll just get himself on there. Got himself a haircut this weekend as well, you might notice. So I like it. I don't know whether he did that in England or in Germany. I'm not too sure where he is these days.
I think they have the gaming house, and they're still practicing here in the studio. They travel every day down here, they practice, then they go back to the gaming house. From what I know, they don't have PCs yet.
I know he didn't get too much practice in over the weekend, that's for sure, because I was playing a different game with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe it shows. Maybe it shows.
Well, we'll see whether it does. They did pick up a win, hard-fought win yesterday, so I don't think we can be too harsh on him. Now that they are in that gaming house, they certainly pulled together as a team lately. And you know, we mentioned, I think it was probably about 2-3 weeks ago now, how the likes of Mima, the likes of Moopz had to step up individually. They were at the bottom of the KDAs. It was crazy stats.
They were,
and then they all really stepped up.
It was like they heard, it was like a wake-up call, just hearing, oh, we're at bottom of KDA, we want to fix this. And everyone, they expanded champion pools, they practiced really hard, and then come in there and they start dominating games. And it really started with that Gambit one, where they just destroyed them in every single lane, and people were like, okay, whoa, Super Crew actually good.
Yeah, suddenly it was like, what is happening right now? That's crazy stuff.
And from then they just kept it going, simply.
Well, we are about to get the game back underway. If you've just joined us, there was a small pause. Impaler just restarting his clients. You guys have all had it at home at one point or another, I'm sure. But right here, it is very important stuff. Super Hot Crew as the red team, you can see, going to be starting off on the red buff. Impaler will be on that one, and it looks like it's going to be a blue buff start for Hulberto for Gambit.
So you see very standard start for pretty much everything. Both bot lanes are actually in the lane before the minions are even spawning. Nobody wants to give this early advantage to the other one. They don't want to risk getting pushed out. And then the other one gets early level 2 and they just destroy you in the lane.
Mixer up against Edward in his bottom lane. We'll see who goes down first. Gambit have given up, it's what, 9, maybe 10 out of 13 games now. There's a lot of first bloods, and this could well be the lane that creates it, because Mr. Rales and Mixer are a super hot bottom lane.
And look at that fight. Everyone just want to get in and get the minions pushing. It's actually in favor of Gambit so far. They got it, pushing towards Super Crew, and they will get the early level 2 if they can keep this going. It's a bit hard for them to go for a kill early on because Super Crew is so close to the turret.
Mixer's actually trying to bait Edward into a hook there. Didn't actually draw it out, but Fury was putting a lot of damage down on Mr. Rales, so they don't really fancy this one. And it will be Gambit that will hit level 2 first, I believe.
And Lucian is very strong here in the start. He's actually going to be beating out Jinx when it comes to poke until he hits the level 6 point. And then Jinx, with her ultimate to execute, can really put on some damage. And that's also going to rely a lot of Mixer landing down the CC and then boom, all the damage from Rales.
And just remind everyone what the importance, because obviously this is a lane you played in a lot last season. What's the importance of hitting that level 2 so early on against your rivals?
The thing is, if you can hit level 2 at a good point in the lane, so you can still actually go on them. You can move forward and you can try and set up a fight. They're forced to back off because they're only level 1, so you more or less zone them away from the CS if you're good enough. And now Mixer going in.
Going on towards Edward, but Edward quickly walks away from that one. They didn't really land that cork. The zap coming out from Mr. Rales. We do see Hulberto going aggressive here. He may be coming in towards the Tribush. No, it's just going to be warding out, giving them some coverage.
So again, this time both are level 2, nothing really happened from it because again, the lane was pushed so much up to super hot crew. But normally what you want to do is get to the scenario where you can zone them away. If you can do that early and you hit level 3 when they're still level 1, the lane is pretty much over in your favor. And that's why all these bot lanes, they start down there and they don't leash for the jungler anymore.
Well, as it stands, Zoro0, oh, missing the briefcase on towards Mima. Mima going to be pushing up. How do we gauge this top lane? How is this going to fare out? A Shyvana versus a Mondo. It's not a line matchup we've seen probably since maybe week 1 and 2.
It's in favor of Shyvana. You know, she has more damage early on. She can just shove the wave in. Zoro, he's just going to focus on farming everything he can. Once he gets very tanky, Shyvana can't kill him anymore, and then he turns into a farm fest, and he's going to be more involved around what happens elsewhere on the map, and they're going to join in for team fights. Zoro, he's bringing the teleport, so he can teleport in if something should happen, and then Mima, he's just going to stay top and focus on pushing down all the time.
See how that farming session works. This mid lane, of course, Lulu up against Kayle. Lulu, a champion that's really risen to popularity throughout the solo queue, throughout the Korean scene, and then, of course, Alex Hitch was the first to bring it into the European scene.
He was, and it was kind of mixed success. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't too good either. Impaler closing in on Nuke.
Coming in, the Cocoon not quite going to land. That pick's just giving Nuke that extra burst of speed and turns around a Glitterlance, landing nicely on towards Impaler.
So again, a little bit back to the top lane point. We need to see if we have an early Blade of the Rune King onto Mima, or he decides to go full tank early on, how he wants to build it. Because it's going to give us an idea of how Super Crew wants to play the game, if they want to focus on split pushing or more team fight based.
Let's remind the crowd, of course, Nuke has played against this Kayle before. Of course, last time it was overpower that played it to devastating effect. I think he was trying to teleport open there. I don't think Nuke's going to let him quite do that one. Mr. Rallis has took a burst of damage down this bottom lane. We can see Gambit. Oh, aggression from Mixer, just making sure, you know, you're not going to back away quite so easily in the bush in our faces. Mr. Rallis was nowhere near that fight.
No, but that is such a good play by Mixer, because he's forcing now Lucian to either stay in the lane or recall and lose some CS. He's he can't do anything, and Edward actually, he wants to try and back from this. So Super Crew can get some CS back now and maybe a little XP advantage.
Yeah, they're managing to just lock them out and going to try and shove that wave as hard and fast as they can. And look at that. Fury cancelled his back. Fury is going to stay in that lane.
And it means they can now shove it out. There's no risk of them dying because he's he has no chance of killing them.
Out of mana is the phrase you're after.
Out of mana. Sorry. Which basically means they can do whatever they want now. They can decide to recall or just stay and keep pushing it in and force him to see us on the turret.
Well, Zoro0 is going to get baited in. Is he going to be outsmarted? That's the question. Has flashed away. The Ignite's gone down there. Impaler comes in. It's going to have to be a deep, deep dive. And they didn't fancy it.
It was a very nice gank though, and they actually forced a flash for him and his ultimate, so he's now forced to more or less try and stay and get the CS or go back and use his teleport back in the lane.
You know what? I think Zoro0 hit level 6 during that fight. I think that may be what saved him. Pop that regenerate straight in there. Hulberto comes in towards the top lane.
He was ignited though, so he couldn't actually regain too much. It was more the fact he just got out of this one, and none of Super Crew wanted to dive him, and that was smart.
Well, Fury has finally gone back. Of course, Eddie is still there, keeping out the lane. Ooh, different build coming out. It's going to be Blade of the Rune King start for Fury.
That's actually very new for me. I haven't seen Lucian going for this. It means more or less his calling is going to do very little amount of damage, but his auto attacks and his more kiting abilities is going to be better.
Alberto comes around, and Paler puts some damage back on towards it. Jungler on jungler, and he wants to get that ward down. He wants to get coverage of that blue buff, and Moopz is coming around. They may try and invade this.
And they might actually be able to get it because Alberto, he's recalling, and Nuke is still in the mid lane. They are spotting him out now. Will they try and stop it? Nope. Backs off.
Well, it's going to back away. Nuke doesn't want any of that, and it's going to be Impaler taking that blue buff.
So back to the Blade of the Rune King that we're going to see on Lucian. It shows to me that the way Gambit won a team fight is the 4 members of Gambit, they run into the face of Super Hot Crew and more or less lead Lucian together with Shyvana, and then with the Blade of the Rune King, he can try and kite him out and get some good damage on him.
Edward getting locked up. The chomper's not quite on target from Mr. Rallis. Wanted to land them and keep Edward locked down a little bit longer. Nuke is backing away. That blue buff will be up in a couple of seconds for the Super Hot Crew. Expect them to rotate around. I'm not too sure whether Gambit are going to be fighting for it.
No, it was actually too easy for Super Hot Crew to pick up Gambit's blue buff, and now once they pick up their own, or at least they should be able to, they're going to have 2 blue buffs, or no blue buff onto Nuke, and it's going to be harder for him to actually harass Moopz out of the lane.
Well, Moopz himself will be hoping to get that blue buff. We'll keep our eyes on that one, see where the Hulberto goes around. They're both Super Hot Crew back away. The blue buff has just respawned. We'll see whether Impaler goes down there and helps it out.
So we have Mima, he's picked up also the Cutlass, so he's going towards the Blade of the Rune King himself, which means he want to focus on being able to 1v1, or at least try to, against Zoro, and then just focus on constantly applying pressure on the top lane, forcing multiple members from Gambit to try and come up and stop him.
Well, Impaler was starting off the blue buff, but he realised Moopz wasn't quite close enough, so he's just going to take the white away at the same time. Mr. Morales continuing to keep that farm going up against Fury. Fury himself is slightly edging out there, but we are seeing potential gank opportunities here. Hulberto stood on a ward.
Yeah, so he is spotted out, which means SUPA can just wait for him to try something, and then Impaler can come in for the counter gank if Edward can actually land and engage. Seems like they're just backing off, but Hulberto, he's still staying in the bush.
They're trying to draw them out, and Super Hot Crew are happy to take the bait here. They're going to be ready and waiting for this one. Don't forget, Solar Flare could start this one off. Impaler can close that gap very quickly with his repel. They are just trying to wait them in here. Look at that, the hook. I think if that had landed, I think Super Hot Crew would quite happily have took it.
Yeah, they would have taken it, Impaler would have joined in. The only bad thing for them is the fact that there's teleport on Mundo, but he's pressured to his turret, so he couldn't join, and they're going for it.
They're delaying him nicely here. That's going to be the Sofa. Eddie's the one they're going for. Edwin will get that go down first. Blood once again. Mixer taking all of the damage, and honestly for Fury, I'm not too sure that was the right target. Instead, it's going to be Hulberto they now go in towards. Zap will land. Had to pop that Ragnarok to walk away.
And here we see the reason why people love to play Jinx against Lucian, because once you're at level 6, he's going to have his calling, that is damage over time. With Jinx, you have this instant burst on her ultimate, it is an execute, so they could just pop it in on the first target, pick up a kill, there was nothing Gambit could do in response.
And I absolutely hate pointing this out, but Edward, that is yet another first blood, and they are really starting to stack up now. He is really throwing himself in there, which is something he's always done, but it is not paying off for him this season.
It's not paying off at all. In his defense, he was trying to set up the gank with Hulberto here, so he was more or less the bait for it. When Super Hot Crew went in, they didn't expect Elite to be there, but she was, and yeah, easy kill for Super Hot Crew.
Well, indeed, and it's dangerous play. The fact that they didn't have the visual coverage of Impaler, and they hadn't seen him for a very long time either. Mima just getting covered off by Impaler there. Impaler himself is going to come around Hulberto's. I wasn't sure whether he was just going to be cheeky and steal it away with a quick poison. Instead, this Hulberto, Nukeduck they're going to go in towards. Can they land the cocoon? No, Nukeduck sidesteps it once again. That little skittering spider will explode just behind Nukeduck, and he will be safe for now.
And Impaler, he keeps showing into the mid lane to put some pressure on Nuke, and notice how they didn't even take the blue buff at all. So now when Moopz' first blue buff they took away from Gambit is gone, he can now pick up a second one and just continue farming. They want to make sure that Moopz can get all the farm he needs early, so he becomes this very strong KO.
And they still had that ward, of course, so they know exactly when that blue buff went down. So Nukeduck going to feel he's going to be fighting for it once again next time they come back. Moopz with that blue buff and the Nashers in the mid lane. He's not too fearful of Nukeduck, who's just gone back to get himself the Athene Holy Grail.
And now again, another smart thing about what Super Hot Crew is doing with the blue buff on Gambit's side is the fact that when you have Shyvana, she's going to shove out Mundo, and she can join the fight before him, and she's stronger in these early fights. So it means more or less that Super Hot Crew can pick the fight. Now Mixer going in.
Mixer goes in. Solar Flare lands on towards Edward. Is it going to be enough? Edward yet to hit there, but the Chompers didn't quite land again. So Eddie walks away from that one.
Look at how much damage Super Hot Crew can put down every time Mixer he lands a stun. This time around, they actually lost on damage because Mr. Rallis had to move around the minion wave to try and land his W. So he lost a bit of damage there, and all in all, they're just happy with the trade.
Oh, Mr. Rallis sidestepping quite easily on that hook. Edward is seen throw some of those wonderful hooks out, but as of yet, and you know, we were talking about this, the fact that, off camera, the fact that the supports in Europe really have stepped up their game, and Edwards is just looking far behind them right now.
They definitely, I would even say the bot lanes in Europe have really stepped up. We have so many supporters now with the new changes to support we've seen in the Season 4 patch, where they're more aggressive, they can do more big plays. It just favors all these players so much. They actually have spotted out Impaler because they had a ward all the way up here in the tri-boost behind the tower from Super Hot Crew. Very nicely placed, so they saw him move down.
Nobody's there, and that means they're just going to try and bait this one out. The lantern being used to farm those souls. Edward trying to stack himself out as much as he can. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Nukeduck and Moopz with that blue buff of his own, trying to keep the farm away. So it's a bit push back and forward. Yeah, Cocoon is going to miss from Impaler. It's just going to take a little bit of lane tax.
Impaler felt he'd been waiting for a little bit too long. He just wanted to try something and then back off. And it was actually smart. Had he landed a cocoon, they could have gone onto this, because Edward, okay, he does have this flash, so he might have been able to survive, but he could at least have tried to go for it.
Mima continuing to farm out that top lane. Meanwhile, in the mid, actually, they are going to go on towards Nukeduck. I can see the slow. Moopz comes in there, just coming in the side. Impaler's going to go in this time. Will he manage to land on towards him? It's a tower dive, but no, the wild growth comes out. Hulberto comes back in. They can try and turn this one around. They're going to keep on chasing. They do manage to land the Glitterlance. Teleport coming in now. Zorazir's going to try and close this one out. Impaler dodging, repelling. Where can he go next? Straight into Nukeduck.
such a nice counter gank, and a mistake by Super Crew trying to dive this Lulu, who had the ultimate ready. It'd be very hard to take her down, and then Roberto, he just ghosted in, popped his ultimate, and due to the slow landing from Nuke, actually went after the flash from Impaler, they managed to chase it in and pick up the kill. They did use the teleport though.
They did use the teleport, but there's really no other objectives to be gained by saving that teleport, so getting that kill for them was certainly needed. But Solar Flare going to be used on towards Fury. The Chompers will go down. Fury's going to get focused. Mr. Rallis flashes sidesteps out from Edward. They're keeping the pressure on, but they haven't quite got enough. And now Hulberto's joining the fight. They could turn this one around on its head. Ignite from Mixer from Eddie. Can he flame so well? One more flay has done it. Edward gets the kill.
And this is the Edward we know. Everything he did in this fight was absolutely perfect. He walked into the face of Mr. Rallis so he couldn't fire off his ultimate. And when Mr. Rallis tried to flash to the side to ultimate, Edward just sidestepped with him and blocked it. And then he kept going for it and he picked up the kill.
Pressure from Gambit now as they push on towards that turret, the bottom turret, the weakest turret. Mr. Rallis taking some damage. Eddie fancied that one, but the moment Impaler shows himself, forces them to back away.
So, nice move again here by Super Crew to defend the turret, but Gambit, they can keep pressuring it up because Roberto, he has a lot of wave clear. It seems they're just going to back off though and be happy with this, and then we can see what they're going to pick up.
So we'll see how it develops for Fury. He did get himself that Ruby Gem and Longsword, so still building in towards that build toward a Cutlass. Blade of the Rune King has been picked up by Mima in the top lane. Sunfire Kate for Zora Zero, of course, did go down. Zora Zero's teleport, he didn't get the assist for that, by the way, when he went down there, so he didn't get anything from it.
He didn't get anything at all. Well, he forced Impaler to more or less move the other way, but that's about it. So yeah, he didn't gain anything, but so far he's just happy farming. He's actually out farming Mima at the moment, and that's Zora Zero. He will always get the farm he needs. And a thing I just noticed is that Lucian is actually going to go into a Trinity Force now and not even complete his Blade Rune King first. So he's doing a bit of a mixed build I have never actually seen before.
We'll see where he goes with this one. And he takes himself that red buff. We did see the ulti being popped by Zora Zero in the top there. Mima happy to draw that one out from him, so he may be going to try and keep some of that pressure on him. Of course, with that Blade of the Rune King, fancy this one now. Zora Zero himself is pretty tanky. He's got Hulberto close by. This will be the first blue buff for Nuke.
And it's actually very good for him. He picks this one up. Super Crew were not in a position to fight it. The top lane wasn't pushed out and Impaler was far away. So did Hulberto get the blue buff?
I believe he did. That was a bit of a mistake there, and Nuke will not get the blue buff regardless.
Well, he's winning on farm without blue buff, so he's doing a good job. We gotta give him that, at least. And now Olaf has blue buff. He can farm more. That's about it. He can just constantly keep clearing the waves and then maybe set up something.
Well, not the best for Nuke in that mid lane. I don't think he'd be too happy with his jungler for that one. As it stands though, down this bottom lane, it's 133 CS for Fury, along with an assist up against the 116 CF of Mr. Rallis. So Gambit actually winning out the lane phase. If you look across all the board, every single lane winning in fun.
That's what we talked about in the pregame, how Gambit now with this lineup is very strong laners. Everyone is very good in the lane. We have some solo queue players. We also have some NIP players who normally at least go for dominating the lane. So it shows at least that Super Crew knew this, and they're not trying too much. They're just trying to lane this one out and then go for teamfights later on. Yeah,
happy to sit it, but a great play from Eddie straight away. Solar Flare though, they are going to lock on towards Eddie. They're going to close him down. It will be another kill. It's Impaler that takes it though, and the rocket went flying past.
And the Dragon is up. This is what happened early on with Super Crew. Did the gang in bot lane and they went for Dragon. Roberto's here this time. If he can land some harass, he's going to force Super Crew away.
Well, at least he knows that those cleavers will be thrown out a bit quicker because he has that blue buff. The cooldown will be slightly shorter. Gambit are setting up for this one. It's a 3v1 situation down the bottom. They are keeping Hulberto away. Nuke tried to zone them out as well, but Moopz not letting him.
And there's no teleport on Zoro because he used it early on, gaining nothing from it, so he can't join the fight. Mima can just constantly push him down there. And Super Crew, they want to get this one.
Oh, we'll see whether the Cullian's going to be used. Is Hulberto going to try and get it? He gets the steal! Will it be his life? No, he's going to pop the Ragnarok and walk away like a boss.
So he's been stealing a blue buff, and now also the Dragon. Whoa, the fact he picks this one up was so big from Gambit because Super Crew was meant to get it due to the fact they killed them in the bot lane first and then got up there, so that was a big play.
And that's the cape the Gambit in towards the gold lead. You can see it's 1,000 gold advantage for them. Nuke again pressuring Moopz in his mid lane. Moopz is not appreciating the pressure that Nuke keeps pouring down. I mean, you know, Lulu is a lane menace. We knew this for sure. And actually, it's preventing Moopz, who has started to roam more as the weeks progress. And it's actually locking him down. He's not able to go anywhere.
No, and the fact that Super Crew have put so much focus on ganking, first of all, on Nuke and also taking the blue buff for Moopz, shows that really they want to make sure he can get some farm, even though they know he's a bit weaker in lane. versus the Lulu. They want to make sure he gets the farm needed, and they're happy with him just staying mid. They don't need him to roam at the moment.
Impaler now looking to try and create an issue on Zoro0. Teleport is back up for him. Sadism available as well as ultimate, but it's the blue buff they're thinking of. Alberto was close by, but he is just about to back off, and this is simply going to be a two-man push on top.
And they really want to keep vision on his blue buff, and they want to try and force something now. Alberto coming off. Can you try and stop this?
Yeah, prevented the recall, coming back in there. We'll just clear out that wave. That top turret is not safe right now. It is very low on health, and that's because we've been seeing Mime has just been farming between the two towers in the top.
Yeah, he's just constantly been pushing, and that is what Shyvana will do all the time, because if Zoro0 decides to fight him, the Bedroom King will really go in favor of Mima, and he will maybe be able to pick up the kill. Now going on Nuke.
Well, if only that cocoon would land. The Wild Growth once again saving the day, and Moopz taken really low from this one. A couple of tower hits there. Impaler not doing what he needs to on that cocoon so far. Mixer's going to face check in towards Eddie. Eddie throws that flay down and just harasses on him, but I don't think he wants to deal with that shield.
And juked him out. But they really want to dive Nuke here in the mid lane, even though he has the Lulu ultimate, he has his own shield. Now they're just applying the pressure. Bertu is trying to come in to help.
Nuke Duck next to no mana, of course, because he doesn't have that blue buff. And that is a lot of damage traded on towards that. So that's the top and the middle turret both taken low. Super Hot Crew, they're going to have a lot of money stacking their way shortly.
Yeah, they might be behind in farm, but if they can get down the turrets, they will be ahead in gold. And that's how they want to play this one. Especially if they can get down this top turret and the mid turret, they're going to get a lot of free pressure on the map because there's less vision for Gambit's side.
Ashes Tooth was completed. We see Nuke Duck, he's going towards that potential Rabadon's death cap. We'll see which way he goes with it. Could be a death by grasp. We don't know what Nuke Duck's going to go with it. We do see some wild builds already from Fury going towards that Trinity Force, as you mentioned earlier on. Meanwhile, Mr. Rales, he hasn't been back to buy for a while. He's been sitting on that Bloodthirster for a while, so we'll see which way he goes. You can see he's got 1,700 gold in his pocket. And look at the two top lanes, 2k apiece.
Yeah, they're just farming away. Nobody really wants to recall at the moment. And for Mr. Rales, he's most likely going to go into the static shift. It's very normal on Jinx to get some more wave clear, and it gives you a little bit more upfront burst damage as well on the first hit.
So, 20-minute mark has been passed. Not a single turret to go down. This has been a long turret phase. I think it was 27 minutes was the longest. I think that may have been yesterday as well, the Copenhagen Wolves versus Millennium. As it stands, Impaler will be taking down the red buff, and the farming will continue.
And we need to see how much damage Nuke Dog can actually put out when he completes his Lich Bane. It's a very standard item on Lulu because you only have 2 scaling abilities more or less and you're passive, so you need the Lich Bane. And this time around, no chances, Nuke Dog picks up the blue.
Nuke Dog will get that blue buff. It's took him 21 minutes to get that blue buff. He'll be quite appreciative of it, so let's see what he can do with it. Moopz, meanwhile, he'll be going across to take in blue buff of his own off Impaler.
And here's the thing again with Nuke Dog. We need to see how he can teamfight. We saw him get a quarter kill in the finals against Cloud9 on the Lulu, where it was pure late game. He just ran around, he picked up the kills. He really needs to be very strong. And now Trinity Force is completed onto Fury.
We'll see what he does with that Trinity Force, because Greaves was picked up by Mr. Rales, so hasn't spent too much just yet. We'll see how he moves on. Ping's going down. Still 2 minutes from the Dragon. It was all about that ping ward being covered out there, which I think Edward picked up.
Yeah, but we really have to keep an eye on how Fury is going to play the team fights, because he's having a kite build. He can slow down someone, and he has the phage for himself to make himself faster. So he's more or less just going to say, I don't want to die, I'm just going to shoot at you and keep running backwards and make sure you can never get to me.
If only the crowd would have seen you doing the culling motion there as well.
I know, it looked pretty cool.
It was beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. He's very animated here in this casting. Edward does manage to back away from that one when Alberto came around, but not a hard engage coming out from Super Hot Crew, just pulling some poke down on Eddie.
And once again, Impaler's been having full focus on the mid lane and then also the bot lane. He only went top once for the gank, and now they're going here.
Solar Flare being thrown down, but it didn't land. Zenith Blade will lock up Fury instead. Fury taken solo the Ignite. If Barry's about to wear off, he will go down. Mixer's the one that gets the kill. Mr. Rale's now getting focused. Alberto comes around. He chomps him down. Now Impaler's in trouble. Eddie with the flay. That's a double kill for Alberto. He's going to keep on running. The Hawk comes out from Edward on Mixer. Who is the top support? Well, it's course it's Eddie. The flay follows through, and Alberto, he will get himself a triple kill.
And it's actually Super Crew who starts the fight. First of all, they missed the ultimate on Mixer, so they can't go straight in for this one. Then, the rest of them, they actually flash into the turret to try and finish off Fury, which meant that Alberto could join the fight and just pick up some free kills because there were no flashes except for on Mixer, and Gambit just completely turned it around.
Great fight for Gambit. Zoro0 defending off in this top lane, keeping Mima at bay, but wow, that will certainly give them a boost. And you know what? Getting an Olaf fed, that is not a bad thing.
And look how tanky he is already. He's gonna be such a monster when it gets to the fights. He can get, you know, speed up from Nukeduck, get into the face of Super Hot Crew, and they won't be able to stop him due to his ultimate, and then also the Lulu ultimate on top. He's gonna be very hard to deal with.
And we talked about it, you know, the fact that the mobility of Mr. Rala, as we mentioned, you know, if he gets caught out, he is in desperate trouble, and he was just wrecked there. They went too aggressive on Fury. Now Impaler, he's coming around the side here to put that pink ward down, just spotting out Hulberto, and Nukeduck trying to set up a trap, but it is the Dragon they're focusing on.
And this time around, there is a teleport ready on Zoro, and he actually pushed up the wave, so he can join it now. Look at him moving backwards up on the top. He might want to join in.
Well, Mimer's going to keep track of him, so we'll keep our eye on that one. They actually cancelled the Dragon. Pinkwood was thrown down, but that's going to get cleared out. Sweeping lens from the Super Hot Crew will clear out the coverage from Edward. And this could turn into a 4v5, of course. Zoro Zero, don't forget, can get interrupted by Mimer's Dragon's Descent.
But this is a very scary team fight if Super Hot Crew decides to take it, because there's no flash on Mr. Rales. So the only escape he actually has is gone. If Roberto gets to him, if Zoro Zero gets to him, there's no chance for him to actually get away.
Zoro Zero has already had to use that sadism in the top lane. Mimer's put a lot of pressure on him. Mimer did use his ultimate on towards him as well, so no interrupt on Zoro Zero. In fact, Zoro Zero Mimer has backed off. This could trigger the start for Gambit.
Yeah, and Gambit are actually around this area. They want to clear out some vision from Super Hot Crew's side because they have a lot of wards going down.
Well, we see Zoro Zero, he's going back to base. I think he's going to run straight towards his Dragon. Hulberto's going to start it off. There's the teleport. Zoro Zero's coming in on this one, and Gambit want themselves a second Dragon. Mimer comes around the side. Mixer in there. A repel from Impaler. Impaler's getting caught out. He's being chased on there. Moopz tries to come in from the side, but this is a horrible, horrible pincer move for the Super Hot Crew. They are all split up, and this is surely going to only go one way. It will be Gambit pushing them down. Zoro Zero does a bully job and keeps them away, and Fury, well, he got the kill on Mixer. It's another Dragon for Gambit.
And Super Hot Crew do the biggest mistake you can do when starting a fight. They were completely split up. There were two members of them on one side, the rest on the other one, so it's easy for Gambit to single them out and just go straight for them.
Great stuff for Gambit here. They really have done a job in the lane phase. We thought they might, but how will it transition towards the team fights? That's where the real money will be tested, because they are going to be pushing on. But again, everything so far has been solo played. Little bit of help from Hulberto. It's a tower down. It's another tower down in mid as well. 2 towers. Gold is tumbling Gambit's way. They've now got a 5,000 gold advantage over the Super Hot Crew.
And the only bright thing for Super Hot Crew's side is the fact that the mid lane turret and the top turret are fairly low. So if they can win a fight, they can go there, take these turrets, and get back in gold. But so far, Gambit are just doing a great job laning-wise, and Hulberto, he's been on fire. Every time he shows up for a counter gank, he picks up a kill.
Mimer taking away the red buff, but he's got to get to his tower because Zoro Zero shot that wave back on towards it. He's going to back himself off. I think he's already just pinged saying, I'm taking you white as well, mate. Hulberto, you are too fed, so I'm going to take your jungle away from you. Mimer, he's just doing a defensive job, and Hulberto is coming around thinking, great, I'm not getting anything from this top half of the jungle. Nukeduck's going to be taking me blue.
Poor Hulberto, he just has to be happy with the kills he got. He's actually very, very tanky from a jungler at the moment. Same goes for Zoro Zero. He's been farming constantly up in the top lane. He's more or less not even missed any CS because he's picked up so many. So he's going to be very, very hard to kill, especially because Super Crew have to rely on the fact it's Mr. Rales and Moopz killing him.
What I'm interested in seeing is just how fast Hulberto is going to be able to run. Because he's got Ghost, he's got Ragnarok, he's going to have Nukeduck's Pix shield.
And then we need a talisman on Edward.
The talisman on Edward. It could be lightning across that map. I fear for Mr. Rales right now.
I fear for the cameraman if you have to try and follow him around and just speed up.
Trying to keep track of him. And you know, this is an unusual setup. The fact that Super Hot Crew's bottom lane, they did get first blood. Let's not forget that. They did get the first kill. But Mr. Rales is yet to get that kill because it's been Mixer that's picked 2 of them up.
And it's been a very hard laning phase due to Fury doing a lot of poking onto them and Edward doing a lot of poking. And every time Super Crew went in for something, they couldn't really pick it up unless Impaler was there. And then the last engage we had Hulberto joining down. They tried to dive in. It was too aggressive, and instead they gave up 3 kills. And that's why they are in the position they are now.
A very different game from last time the Super Hot Crew faced Gambit. The 2 top laners are just going at it right now. And now seeing Zoro Zero, sadism was used, so he's just going to regenerate all his health. Not a great deal of to view from it other than Mima just putting the pressure down on him. We'll see how it develops. Dragon Descent wasn't used, but if Nuke comes up here, that could be a problem for Mima.
They can at least try and force out the ultimate and the flash of Mima and put him in a situation where it's very scary for him to split push. I'm not even sure he spotted him. They're going for this one.
They're going to go in towards it. Zoro0 is taking low. Mima going to have to use that Dragon Descent to get away. Will the picks come out? Oh, he will. The flash comes out. He's dead. Nuke gets in there.
Such a nice gang. Nuke, he actually didn't get spotted by the ward, so he came all the way around and it was too late for Mima, who was stuck in the middle of the lane. He was slowed down and then he just picked up the kill.
Oh, you can see Super Hot Crew realizing the danger, and that was a flash from Moopz. Thought he was going to get caught out. Mr. Rales having to go up to the top there. He's going to try and throw the chompers down. The zap comes out, sidestepped by Zoro0.
AD carry gangs are not the strongest, at least not onto this very tanky Dr. Mundo, and it means Gambit can now take up another turret and then keep going around on the map.
And this is incredible because I was talking about how well Super Hot Crew done in that lane. The fact that he pushed all those waves, but Gambit, just after those little bit of plays, taking the Dragon fight, they have turned it around and really pressured Super Hot Crew.
And overall, we have had better gangs from Gambit's side, and now also roaming from Nuke. Moopz haven't moved away from the mid lane. He's just full focus on the farming. So Nuke, he has moved up top, picked up the kill, which meant they got the turret. And overall, Gambit actually moving around better on the map than Super Hot Crew is.
Crazy, crazy stuff. Nuke goes down towards the bottom, gets himself another giant wave of farm. Meanwhile, Moopz, let's not forget, is on Kayle. Kayle, if it goes late, which at the moment is up to 30 minutes already, will become a monster.
Here's the strong thing for Gambit though. Once we get the Lich Bane completed onto Lulu, if they decide to teamfight when he has these 3 core items, he's doing a lot of damage in his mid-game stage. So if they can pick the right fights, because he has the early death cap, now he picked up the Lich Bane, Gambit, they need to try and start a fight here. They want to make sure they don't let Super Hot Crew go all the way to late game, when Kayle and also Mr. Rales can really start to carry.
Yeah, that will become a problem. Zoro0 going back, playing defensive duties up against Mima here, who places again that ward that was sidestepped around deftly by Nuke. Mid lane is being pressured here. Nuke is there. He will be able to clear those waves at that Glidlands now.
Yeah, it's a big issue actually for Super Hot Crew. They can't really push anything because Lulu has a lot of wave clear. Lucian has a decent amount of wave clear as well. And also you have the axe from Olaf being thrown down, so it's very hard for them to actually push down the turrets, especially if Nuke is nearby.
And talking of Hulberto, what's his role now in these fights? Is it simply going to be get on towards Mr. Rales, cause problems, or is he going to try and keep Moopz out of the picture?
Well, with the way we have the AD carry build, so he can more or less survive by himself, or that's the plan, it's going to be up to Hulberto and Zoro to just get into the back line. It doesn't even matter if they go into Kayle or they go onto Mr. Rales. The best scenario for them is to go in, to get the Kayle ultimate pop early, and then they switch target to someone else and just hammer them down. That's what they can do, because they're so mobile, they're so fast, they can switch targets really easily.
Oh, Mima getting pinged out, and Zoro0 and Hulberto pushing in. I'll tell you, it was Edward that was up the top there. Lot of wards placed around that top half of the jungle, so full coverage given for Zoro0. Zap not going to land its target, and again, they're pushing in. They will get themselves the first turret of the game for the Super Hot Crew.
And just as we praised the wave clear from Gambit, they were actually a little bit out of position, and Super Hot Crew, they punished it. The turret was already very low, so they could easily go in and pick it up. That's a hard word to say.
Yeah, hood. My Danish is not great, but I'm pretty sure we're starting to drift in. Who knows? At the moment, Mima is taking away that red buff, and he's got to keep dealing with Zoro0. He's been a pest in that top lane.
A red buff will help him at least to duel Zoro, but Zoro can just always cut away from him. He keeps throwing down the cleavers, he has ultimates from more move speed, so he doesn't even want to fight, he just want to farm and push the wave. He has teleport ready, so for this dragon he can join in again.
This is getting taken down very quickly by Gambit. Super Hot Crew far too late for the party there. Gambit locking it up, but Edward's going to get caught out. Oh, the zap caught him as well. Is it going to be enough? No. Flashes away. The shield just about enough to give him away. The culling coming out simply keeping them at bay here. Nuke's coming in at the side, but he's split apart from his team. But this is all happening while they've let Zoro0 farm the top turret.
Yeah, he didn't even want to teleport down because they already got the dragon, and the rest of Gambit were just disengaging. Now Super Crew, are they moving for him or the Baron?
It looks like it may well be the Baron. They're going to take down that ping ward. Oh, there's a lot of ping wards on there. That's going to surely slow them down. I'm not too sure whether they're going to start it off. They are. They're going to continue. This is dangerous, dangerous play here. Gambit are closing in.
They can take a fight and they're going in.
Solar Flare goes down, but Hulberto's going deep. Mixer's going to focus on towards Nuke, but look how much damage he's taken now. Mixer's all in trouble. He's going to get taken out. Fury, oh, they've got him between a rock and a hard place. Zoro0 comes in. A lot of damage on towards him, but still no kills. And the Super Hot Crew are melting there. Impaler goes down. Gambit are just romping to victory here. Mr. Rales gets dropped and Moopz is running for his life, but look at this little pixie chasing him down. It is a quick Lich Bane chasing another Lich Bane, and Moopz is going to try. No! But because the flash comes out from Nuke, and it's the Baron for Gambit.
And Super Hot Crew couldn't have picked the worst time to go Baron. Yes, Edward was in base, but the rest of Gambit were nearby. They went in there, they stopped everything from going on, and they picked the right fight, because look at the items on Gambit's side. They have all the core items they need for all the members, so it was an easy fight for them to take. Notice how when it all started, they were cutting it away. Mixer, he moved in, they got an easy kill on him, and then from there on they just piled onto them with the very tanky bruisers and a lot of damage from Nuke and Fury.
And for once, the focus from Super Hot Crew was all over the place. They didn't know who to go for. They thought they'd managed to work the damage down. Then they nearly chopped Zoro down. His ultimate just brought all his hit points back, and they just didn't focus on the right things. Ironically, Mixer caught Nuke, but nobody followed through.
Nobody followed because the rest of Gambit were there, and everyone actually, Nuke as well, he started backing off instantly as he caught him. And the rest of Super Hot Crew, just as you said, due to Zoro coming from the backside, they didn't know which one to go for. They couldn't really flash into this one, or they seemed very confused at least when the fight actually started, and Gambit just punished him for it.
May well have been a bit of a rash call, I think, coming out from the Super Hot Crew, and that has put them 13,000 gold behind, which is a gigantic deficit 34 minutes into this game. Now they have to try and turtle this one out. They've been in this situation before. SK Gaming themselves are the kings of turtle along with the Copenhagen Wolves, but Super Hot Crew have done a good job of it themselves. They were down against Fnatic in the lane phase, and they are down against Gambit in a much more serious situation.
Gambit will be able to split push with the teleport, and also if they want to dive, with these very two tanky champions, Olaf and Mundo, they can tank a lot of hits. Maima, he's in the top lane now, so he's not going to join in for this defense at all.
Well, it's a 4-man Gambit versus a 4-man Super Hot Crew, as the top turret will go down, but the bottom inner turret will be going down as well. The Gambit are taking down every little advantage they can. So, only the inhibitor turrets left for Gambit to just chop through, doing a better job, ironically, Gambit in pajamas than the Gambit team themselves.
And the hard thing for Super Hot Crew now is they can't really fight in an overall team fight. And now, oh, Hook almost actually landed onto Impaler, but they couldn't follow up on it.
Didn't want to fly themselves through. Mixer taking, I tell you what, those infected cleavers from Zoro, they're starting to do some serious damage. This is a very, very tanky Mundo right now, tanking that tower for days.
A lot of poke they actually have on Gambit's side, and then they can do this thing with Lulu where he shields himself or someone else, and they move in and they hit it. And very nice lancer by it, because notice if someone should be able to go in on him, they can just click the lancer and jump out.
They've got no way to alleviate the pressure here. This is a simple siege coming out from Gambit, but they're not getting a great deal of damage on towards the turrets. Now Nuclear's going to rotate around. They've got a good clean shot on towards this turret. They're taking a lot of damage on it. Fury's going to go aggressive. Couple more hits will do it, but look how quick they'd use the lantern to switch lanes straight in towards this bottom inhibitor turret. Zoro is tanking it up, saying Fury, hit the goddamn thing. He will. Mixer comes in. Oh, intervention having to be used there on Mixer. That's not a great start. Impaler's caught out, has to repel. The culling will not land. Instead, he lands on Alberto and runs away. Crazy, crazy stuff, but that inhibitor turret will go down. Don't forget the bottom one is taken low as well. Super Hot Crew, they're going to back away. They're going to lose 2 inhibitors here.
And Gambit is just moving back and forth between these turrets. They force Super Hot Crew to react to it, and it's so smart by them because they always get some damage on the turrets, and now they got it so low. And also Mixer actually went in on Nuke. They didn't manage to pick up the kill, so he had to get the kill ultimate and get out there, and it was too easy for Gambit to go in and take the turret.
Well, could we be seeing the first win for Nuke and Zoro on this stage? They are 0-6 currently, and it's been a long, hard battle for them. They have, of course, come into the LCS as substitutes, not the entire Ninjas in Pajamas outfit here, but in the guise of Gambit right now, they are doing a fantastic job up against the Super Hot Crew, who themselves were on a 4-game win streak in this. This is certainly looking like it may well put an end to it.
Yeah, it looks very hard for Super Hot Crew to actually get to the late game point where Kale and Mr. Rallis really have to step up the game and start dealing so much damage that Gambit can't tank it. Because they are so tanky at the moment, and look at all the items. They're almost fully stacked out on both Olaf and Mundo, so they will not be able to die unless the rest of our entire Super Hot Crew just focus all the damage onto one person.
Look at the Super Hot Crew. They were desperately trying to make a pick, trying to make a play. They were hoping that somebody somewhere would come for them, but instead the Dragon in 20 seconds. Gambit had no interest in that. Instead, they are a 5-man group, and they've all been pot. Look at how much all of these have got pots. Look at the glowing. Eddie has bought both Brilliance pot and Fortitude pot, as well as Zoro and Alberto.
They want to finish this game. They just want to push up with the minions, get the top turret, get the inhib, and then just pressure Super Hot Crew all the way into their own nexus.
And look at Zoro. He's just going to tank this one up, and why not? Because he's by far the strongest member in there. Alberto himself has got 4,000 hit points. Mima's going to come in, the Solar Flare is going to be used, but simply just pops on towards it. Eddie just tanks up all of the damage from the Super Hot Crew, simply shrugging it off, and he's just the support.
He's just the support, but the only thing Super Hot Crew actually used was the ultimate from Mixer. And now Hook again on Impaler.
Uh-oh, intervention. Impaler having to be saved there by Moopz, and they are going to back away. This is going to be another inhibitor turret going down. Mixer's desperately trying to look to make a play, but nobody is stepping out of position for Gambit. The hook on Mima pulls him in. He's going to have to Dragon's Descent if he wants to get out of this. Mixer goes way too deep there, and quick Glitter Lance comes across, forces Mima away. The flash hook! Oh my god, you caught yourself a dragon there, Eddie. He does manage to get away. Oh, and a great turnaround rocket from Mr. Rales, but it's going to be the third inhibitor of the game going down. The Nexus turrets are in danger of falling as well. Mima's coming around, but there's nothing they can do. Gambit Gaming have taken down Super Hot Crew with the help of some pajamas.
And every single hook from Edward in the end just landed, and it meant they could get the turret in the end and then push in for the win. Such nice play by Gambit overall. They won the laning phase with some nice ganks from Alberto, and from there on they just didn't give Super Hot Crew a chance.
Fantastic stuff, and a big win for everybody involved in the Gambit Gaming fraternity, I guess you could call it, because they are now 9 members, all those substitutes being used. Edward handpicked his team, by the way, I should point out. And Zoro Zero Nuke really performed this time around, and you've got to give a massive shout out to Hulberto, because what a performance he put in on Olaf.
Everything he did turned out to be kills, turned out to be something in favor of Gambit, and he just got this Olaf so strong that together with Zoro Zero, the front line, they couldn't even touch it from Super Hot Crew's side. And just when we talked about Edward before the game, he really stepped up. He landed so many good hooks here, and the laning phase with Fury went so well. They shut down Mixer and Mr. Rales and got ahead in every single lane, and picked also an early bot turret.
So fantastic, fantastic stuff. You see Zoro Zero there on your screen. Played a great Shyvana. You know, they tried to ban him out on Mundo, but it wasn't to be.
It wasn't to be. He managed to actually win the farm against Mima on Shyvana, and then just beat this very fully tanky Dr. Mundo that you can't really deal with. And Zoro itself, I like the fact they tried to ban him out, but I like even more the fact that he then picked up something else, and he really showed that he has more champions to play.
Nuke actually kind of proving how to play Lulu this time around. He really did a fantastic job on it.
But the thing with Lulu, she's so strong in the lane, and then when you have these 3 core items, the Death Cap, the Ephines, and also the Lich Bane, if you pick the right fights, you are very, very strong. You have a lot of damage coming in, and also the utility you bring. We see how much move speed he's giving, and also the shields, everything. So they just managed to more or less win the game in the mid game, just like they should.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic stuff. So, well, Gambit, they go themselves at 1-1 this week, which is actually kind of what they've been doing themselves as a team. We're, of course, going to get to see the likes of Alex, Itch, Diamond, and Darian all back here. We cannot miss our swag lord in his lovely red tracksuit. We see him every week here, but that's not a bad performance overall. They are, what, 9-5, I think it is now. Obviously, keeping that chase on ROCCAT, keeping the pressure on ROCCAT. And if ROCCAT lose today, they could be even.
It could be even, and I think Gambit fans and Gambit itself, they couldn't have asked for more, because you have ROCCAT, Super Hot Crew, 2 very good teams. It could have gone either way with the normal lineup, so they have to be happy with getting 1-for-1. And overall, they have to give a big thank you to the 4 substitutes and Edward for picking them up.
So the Super Hot Crew managed to fall at last, and revenge from Gambit. Revenge may well have been in the guise of substitutes, but Super Hot Crew, we can't take it away from them. They have looked fantastic, but this game around, they were just outclassed in the lane phase, it seems.
Every single lane lost in CS, and then once they got to the crucial dragon fight, they were split up. There's not like we've seen them in the past, where they normally stay together and really team fight well. This time around, they spread up, and Gambit just used it to their advantage. And then with the Fed Olaf, with also the very farmed Dr. Mundo, they had this front line. And then Fury, he's kind of odd build. It worked out for him because nobody could actually get to him, and he was so mobile. He could just deal out damage from the back, and then Edward landing hooks on hooks on hooks.
Hooks all day long. Eddie playing great after being called out, pulls out the Thresh Prince, and it was a fantastic performance for him. But it is time for a short break. But stick around, because when we return, Deficio will join Shox to talk to Edward from Gambit. So we'll hear all about those hooks. And then, of course, it will be first place ROCCAT will be taking on SK Gaming. Who will draw first blood? Find out in 3.5.